Hello everyone, Steve here with another tabletop baseball video. Thanks for tuning in. It's the beginning of January 2026, so Happy New Year. And with that, we'll get started with the video. So today I'm doing another update on my 1972 Pirates replay. And I'm going to talk a fair amount about Statis Pro Advanced. With that, I think we'll just move forward. So in my last video, I mentioned I had expanded the list of sims that I'm going to try to use in this replay. apba made it onto the list. I wasn't sure I was going to put it on the list, but two different people I know in the hobby sent me apba cards that I can use in the replay. So I feel it's kind of important that I go ahead and give apba a try, which will be next up after this game that I just did with Statis Pro Advanced. So more to come. So since the last video, I only played one game number 39 in the Pirates schedule. It was against the Montreal Expos, and it's just a one-game series squeezed in between two other series. And I think it's just a function of the fact that there were some games that were lost at the beginning of the year, I believe due to a work stoppage. So anyway, I'll have to come back, I guess, and do another series later on with Statis Pro Advanced. But all that said, even with one game and all the prep I've done for that game and for this video, and as well what I know about Statis Pro from other work in the past, I felt it was worthwhile to go ahead and record this video. So I had done an unboxing video a couple months ago when I ordered the 1972 season for Statis Pro Advanced. I ordered the print copy, but you also get PDFs when you order the print copy. So you can check that video out. I'll try not to duplicate too much of that. I don't know if you guys actually look at these links that I prepare, but I intentionally spent some time trying to pull together some links that I'll put in the description, and these links will give you additional information if you really want to take a deeper dive into this subject. I mention this once in a while, but I do tend to talk slow, so you may want to speed up the replay of this video to 1.25 speed. That's up to you. Before I go down the list here, I always appreciate comments on my videos, particularly if I've said something wrong. You can correct me, but the dialogue is the main thing here. We're just conveying information to each other. Thumbs up are appreciated. Just lets me know you're watching. And if you're not subscribed to my channel already, you could feel free to do so. I should make it clear that none of this is ever going to generate any money for me, and that's okay. That's not why I'm doing it. Okay, so the links. There is a Statis Pro Advanced Facebook group. It's a good group, and it's a good way to stay connected with the community, and it's one way you can connect with the developer of Statis Pro Advanced, who is Derrick Beckner. Derrick worked on this Statis Pro Advanced game or version of the game for at least 15 years, if not longer. And this all started with a Delphi forum thread called Can We Fix Statis Pro Baseball? And you see the link here. That thread is 20 years old at least. And I've actually read all 500 or 800 posts in that thread in the past. I'm not saying you need to do that, but if you want to kind of get a feel for the history of how Statis Pro Advanced developed, you can go there. Just yesterday and today, I did watch Derrick's interview with the SABR Gaming Committee. I rewatched it. I learned actually some more information, um, and so that's kind of worthwhile if you're at all interested. At the very end of this video, I'll mention or I'll show a fast action card flipper for Statis Pro Advanced, which is on the Lewis Research site. And then if you want to contact Derrick directly for ordering or otherwise, you can use this email address. He also sells his cards on eBay. So without further ado, let's talk about Statis Pro Advanced. So here's a blow up of two of the player cards from the 1972 set I bought. These cards are the same height, 3.5 inches, as a regular baseball card, but they are narrower than a baseball card. They honestly, they're a little small. We'll talk about that in a second, but not as small as History Maker baseball cards that I talked about in my last video. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to do a deep dive into every little aspect of Statis Pro Advanced. And I'm going to assume that either you know something about Statis Pro or you can go look it up. I've done previous videos on it, for example. But at the highest level, Statis Pro basically starts by checking to see whose card is going to control the at-bat. Is it going to be the pitcher card or the batter card? And it greatly feels like a pitcher first engine. It kind of isn't, but it feels like it because of the way you determine whether it's the pitcher card or the batter card that controls. So Statis Pro is essentially not a 50-50 engine, but it is binary. So it's either or. You're either going to use the pitcher card or the batter card. So let's go on. So just in terms of my setup, I did the same thing that I did with History Maker Baseball. I took the Pirates as played lineup and the Expos as played lineup, and I put them into a baseball card 9-count sheet. And then I kept the pitcher cards separate, and of course the fast action cards you see on the lower right. And then for the pitcher batting, I actually just hand wrote their batting metrics and put it on a card and slipped that into the 9th position. That information comes directly off the pitcher's card, actually, but I wanted to keep kind of the batting and the pitching separate. After an inning or so of playing this game, I actually took the cards back out of the holder and just stacked them up like you would normally with any other game, just because the print is quite small and it was just better if it was just right in front of me, right under my chin. And so it was actually a very compact footprint in terms of playing the game. The thing that took up the most space was the score sheet, although I laid the cards pretty much right on the right side of the score sheet. So that's that. So one of the things that Statis Pro Advanced has that the original game did not is ballpark cards. And so you see 3 examples here. And at the bottom, the ballpark card is somewhat what you would expect, which is kind of a way to control deep flies and how those turn out. And so those are customized, and you can see, for example, the launching pad in Atlanta. If a guy hits a deep fly, there's a reasonably good chance that the guy will hit a home run, at least a much better chance, say, than in Wrigley Field, for example. And yeah, so that's that. But the other thing that's on these ballpark cards is a pitcher stuff roll. And what the instructions tell you to do is before the game, for each pitcher, you draw a random number from the fast action card, and you will bump the pitcher's effectiveness up or down a notch or two. And that is something that generally does not appeal to me in Sims. I think there's enough variability in dice rolls or fast action cards that you don't need to introduce even more variability into the outcome. But as I learned from watching the SABR video today, this stuff roll is a ballpark specific, and the pitcher cards are produced ballpark neutral. And so I think for the true integrity of the game overall, you probably should do the stuff roll. I did not do it, and I probably won't do it for the rest of my replay, even though I'm now becoming convinced that I should. So, Statis Pro, the original Statis Pro and Statis Pro Advanced, is driven by fast action cards. And this is an example of one of the cards. Each card is two-sided. And then in addition, each card has a left side and a right side. And so there's really 4 orientations for an individual card. And, obviously you want to shuffle the deck to start out. And then presumably you might want to reshuffle again later. There's a whole discussion about whether or not you should reshuffle or how often. I think in the case of these fast action cards, you can get away without reshuffling. But once you go through the stack, then you're going to have to reorient it, either turn it upside down or flip it around 180 degrees or what have you. It's probably worthy someday of another video on the shuffling fast action cards. I know Kurt Berkland has done it. If there's a game where you might not want to shuffle, this might be one. But I think in other games it doesn't matter one way or the other all that much. I digress. Okay, fast action card. Probably one of the most important numbers on the card is in the upper left. It's called the PB number. And that is the number that you draw to determine whether the pitcher or the batter is going to be in control of the at-bat. Usually there will be a number after the PB ranging from 2 to 12. You can think of it like a 2d6 dice roll. But once in a while, it'll come up with either a BD, a CD, or a Z, and I'll explain what that is in a minute. Statis Pro Advanced does a pretty good job with errors, and I'll explain how that works. But each time there's an out, you have to check whether there's a potential error. And as you'll see on the next slide, most often it'll say no, that there's not a potential for an error. In this particular fast action card, there is a potential for an error, and you would have to check specific fielders' error ratings to see if an error was indicated. We're not going to talk too much about this pitch item. It's pretty obscure and beyond the scope of today's video. And then there's different types of errors if there is an error, and so that's kind of there in the middle. And then if there's an out, the out type is determined or customized based on whether the guy is left-handed, right-handed, or a pitcher, and whether he's more of a power hitter or a normal hitter. And it's not always the case here, but you can see the left-handers are hitting the ball to the first baseman or the second baseman, and the right-handers are hitting the ball to the third baseman and the shortstop, but it's not always that way. Statis Pro Advanced has a clutch defense highlight play type feature, which is what the CD stands for. And so when the CD does come up in the upper left, you have to know what player is being tested for this highlight play. In this case, on this card, it's the catcher, and that's what that stands for. There's also base runner advancement on these fast action cards. I don't think that was always there. I used that a lot in my game, and I love it. Just like in Payoff Pitch, I love using fast action cards for runner advancement. I do not like to go offline and go be checking charts or what have you. A key thing you'll see in a minute, but it's in the takeaway at the bottom, is that you flip a new fast action card for each step of the play result resolution. And so that means you could be flipping 4, maybe even 5 fast action cards to get to the final answer. That seems like a lot, but once you catch on, it goes really fast, and it makes a lot of sense. And it's no more cumbersome, to be honest, than rolling dice, although there are multiple steps. Here's another fast action card. You can see in the upper left where it says no after error, so there's no error check there. Most of the cards say no. You can see the random number up there, 31. The random numbers go from 11 to 88. You can think of them as rolling 2 D8 dice, each numbered 1 to 8. And in fact, when I play Statis Pro, and now Statis Pro Advanced, I, in the future, will be using D8 dice because I do like to roll dice. Again, this gets back to the fast action cards and the shuffling and all that. One could argue that you should use the fast action cards for everything, but I think Derrick himself has said you can use 2 D8 dice and you're fine. Yeah, that's it for fast action cards. So I was studying the directions. I've played Statis Pro before, traditional Statis Pro. I know how it works. I've written multiple spreadsheets to create my own cards for Statis Pro, but Advanced is different. There's a lot more to it than the original game. And so I finally sat down. I spent off and on the better part of yesterday coming up with this flow chart. I think it's accurate, or accurate enough to be useful. I guess I'll put it that way. So I'll talk a little bit about it, and this will give you an idea of the flow of Statis Pro Advanced and how it may or may not differ from the original. We already talked, if you look at the top, the initial fast action card is used for the PB number. That's why I've got that triangle, square, diamond, highlighted in bold outline. As we said, there could be CD for clutch defense that comes up. There could be BD, which is a clutch batting result. It really ties into the pitcher's ability to hit the batter's ability to hit extra base hits. It only applies with men on base. If there are no men on base and BD comes up, then you go straight to an out determination. And then there are rare plays, which is when the Z comes up. We'll talk about those in a second. But going down the middle here, once you determine whether it's the pitcher or batter card, you turn over another fast action card, which is the green diamond. You check the random number against that card, and you determine the play result. And the play result can be an out, it can be a hit, and if it's a hit, it will be specified what type of hit it is. I didn't say this earlier, and I don't want to scroll back, but one unique thing about Statis Pro is that on pitcher cards there are only singles, and on batter cards there are singles, doubles, triples, and home runs. And that's very, very key to the game engine design, and it's very key to the math of the game engine. As I said before, there's a little sense that Statis Pro is like stratomatic, but it's an order of magnitude more complicated in terms of the math to get the cards right, particularly the pitcher cards. You could have, just like in any other game, you could have a strikeout, a walk, a hit batsman. You could have a wild pitch or pass ball if men are on base. Again, if that comes up and men are not on base, then you go straight to an out. Derrick explained on his SABR video why that makes sense. I didn't fully understand it in the past, but that was kind of a weakness of the original game. If it's a deep result, then you go and pull another random number from the fast action cards and check the ballpark chart, which we already looked at. In the case of strikeouts and walks, almost in every case you're done. But there's a rule which I'm sure I still don't completely understand, where you might have to draw another fast action card and make sure that the result holds up, if you will. And I think it's, again, all about certain nuances of certain cards and making sure that the math works out right. If the play result is an out other than a strikeout, then we already talked when we looked at the fast action cards that you got to figure out the type of out. But once it's an out and you know what type it is and what position it's hit to, you do have to check for a possible error on essentially every out. And if that's not an error, then there are some chart boards that you use to determine what happens to the batter and the base runner. And then if it says that it is a possible error, we already talked about that it could be an error, and if so, the error type. I think that pretty much summarizes it. It looks complicated. I will have to admit, I had a mental block getting hung up on the nuances that are in Statis Pro Advanced, and that's why I spent so much time on this flowchart. Now, as I played the game, by the time a couple innings were over, I was really zooming along pretty well. I would say the other mistake I made is I was reading the instructions, but I was only reading them piecemeal. And you really have to read the rule book in its entirety, I think, to get a feel for things. One thing I tried to do was find some demo videos on YouTube, and I will have to say, for Statis Pro Advanced, I'm not impressed. There were not too many that really stuck out as being particularly helpful in terms of a how-to guide. And in one issue, or in one case, there was a video where the guy was using some modern Statis Pro cards, but they were patterned after the original Statis Pro cards, but they were being described as advanced, and maybe in some senses of the word they were advanced, but they weren't what is called Statis Pro Advanced. They were not Derrick's game. So that's just to add, more confusion to the whole thing. If anybody sees anything that's really out of whack on this flowchart, I would really appreciate knowing that before I pick up the game again to play it later in the season. I mentioned there are rare plays. There's multiple pages of tables with rare play results. This is a snapshot of the top part of the main one. And there's really all kinds of stuff that can come up here. I'm not a real fan of rare plays, but as they go, this is probably as good as anything. It's also, I think, a way for injuries to work their way into the game, and there's a separate injury chart. So, and I mentioned clutch defense, but basically, fielders are given, in addition to their error rating, are given a CD rating ranging from 0 to 5, and depending on the position and the CD rating and the random number you pull, you will get a variety of defensive results. This has a less of a rare play feeling to it, but I think it's a way to differentiate better fielders. Maybe kind of like range ratings do in some sims, but don't quote me on that. So just to wrap it up, Statis Pro, I recommend to anybody who's considering Statis Pro that they take the leap and buy Statis Pro Advanced. Particularly if you want an accurate version of Statis Pro. There are some of the modern versions of Statis Pro, people put out card sets. They are probably reasonably accurate, but I don't think anything compares to Statis Pro Advanced. So I have a list of features here, and the green ones are good ones in my opinion. But Derrick ultimately retained the basic Statis Pro game engine when he built the advanced version and the look and feel of the original game, which includes what's called the base 8 system. So as I mentioned, it's kind of like rolling D8 dice. And so you're going to get results from 11 to 88. I think it just creates kind of a cumbersome situation to use base 8. Base 10 would have made so much more sense in various situations, and I think it would have provided an incremental level of precision for carding players, which arguably could have led to slightly better accuracy. But I do think Derrick has squeezed as much accuracy out of this game engine as humanly possible. The most important thing about Derrick's game is the accuracy of his pitcher PB ratings, and then the walks and hits and strikeouts and so on that are on the individual pitcher cards. The very original Statis Pro game was way off in terms of how accurate the pitcher cards were, and there were some notable, really horrible situations for the very good pitchers were too strong, and the very weak pitchers were too weak. Some of that got fixed. You'll see another one of my videos. Some of that got fixed in the original game, but when Derrick came along, in combination with doing left-right splits, which he has in his game, the whole accuracy of the pitcher cards and the accuracy of the PB ratings took a step significantly higher. And you can see some of that in one of my other videos. Just in general, the ratings are expanded and probably better assigned than they were in previous versions of the game, and as the bullet says, that could include base stealing. We already talked about ballpark effects and the fact that they're tightly integrated with the player cards. Statis Pro always had this reduction system for fatigue. So a starting pitcher, may start, I'm probably going to say the wrong number, but a starting pitcher may start with a number like 13, and for every hit, walk, run scored, hit batsman, that number would be reduced by 1, and until it got to 0, and then the guy was fatigued. Derrick still uses that, but he refined it quite a bit. And, some aspects of it are the fact that later in the game, the pitcher will start experiencing fatigue just through having pitched, multiple innings, in addition to kind of the reduction system that's core to Statis Pro and Statis Pro Advanced. And then once fatigue sets in, it was pretty severe punishment in the original game. Basically, anything from that point on came off the batter card, which is really torturous for a pitcher. Now it's a little more gradual, but if a guy gets fatigued, you probably want to take him out. On that point, in my game that I played, I had Nelson Briles pitching for the Pirates, and he had a pretty decent PB rating. I think one was a 2.7 and one was a 4.7. But then there was a Z result and a rare play result. It was something like, I don't know, he got a cold or he was getting fatigued, and so I had to deduct one notch from his PB rating. And wouldn't you know, like all the random or all the PB numbers I was pulling after that were sevens, which meant previously we would be reading his card, but now um, we were reading off of the batter cards, and pretty soon he started giving up hits. And even though up until that point he was throwing a one hitter uh, and only two base runners, as soon as the fatigue set in and the dice rolls, it kind of worked against him. We've talked about the fast action cards, and they're better, I would say, in general. And the addition of the runner advancement is great. This is a little pet peeve of mine, but one of the criticisms of original Statis Pro was a lot of the outs, an unrealistic proportion of outs were put outs by the catcher. And I think what happened is in the original game, they looked at the proportion of putouts by position, and the catcher got a lot of putouts. But that was only because every time there's a strikeout, the catcher gets a putout, unless he has to throw to first. And I think that's what happened. But people really, I hate to say it, crap on Statis Pro or make fun of it because the original game had all those, catcher out results. And to be honest, yeah, it's annoying, but the game was decent irrespective of that. Anyway, rant over. That's all been fixed by Derrick. Another positive is that you can play Statis Pro Advanced on the Digital Diamond Baseball platform. And when you buy the game, like I did, I bought the cards. You also get the PDFs and you get the Excel files that you need to upload the teams into Digital Diamond. And I think I just saw an announcement a moment ago, but there's even more to come as it relates to the play of Statis Pro Advanced on Digital Diamond. And then if you want to try out Statis Pro Advanced, he does offer a sample version of the game with a few teams for free on PDF. And that's probably a bargain you shouldn't pass up. If you haven't tried Statis Pro Advanced, you probably should give it a try. And with that, that's really my update. I know I've gone too long as usual, so I'm going to sign off. And like I said, the next stop is apba. Take care.